Jeremy had always believed in hard work, loyalty, and the sanctity of marriage. For years, he poured his sweat into construction jobs, sometimes working overtime just to ensure his wife, Victoria, and their child had a comfortable life. But as time passed, something about Victoria changed. Her once warm demeanor turned distant, and her excuses for leaving the house at odd hours became more frequent and less convincing. At first, Jeremy brushed off his concerns. He told himself that Victoria's freelance work required flexibility, that maybe she just needed space. But deep down, something felt off. The woman he once trusted implicitly was slipping away, and every time he tried to reach for her, she pulled further back. Doubt turned into suspicion, and suspicion turned into a quiet, gnawing pain. Jeremy started noticing patterns. How she always seemed agitated when he had an unexpected day off, how she would make urgent plans out of nowhere, and how her phone, once casually left on the counter, was now always clutched tightly in her hands. Determined to uncover the truth, Jeremy devised a test. One evening, he came home and sat Victoria down with a grave expression. "I lost my job," he told her, his voice heavy with false defeat. "And I made a bad investment. Our savings are gone." He watched her closely, hoping for concern, maybe a reassuring touch, or even a worried question about what they'd do next. But what he got instead sent a cold shiver down his spine. Victoria didn't gasp or panic. She didn't reach for him in support. Instead, she stared at him blankly and said, asterisk, "And what do you want me to do about it?" Asterisk. At that moment, everything clicked. Jeremy realized that his role in Victoria's life wasn't that of a husband, a partner, or even a person she loved. He was just an ATM, a provider, nothing more. From that day on, Victoria stopped pretending. She barely acknowledged his presence unless she needed something for their child. When she left the house, she no longer bothered with excuses. If he asked where she was going, he was met with irritation or silence. The woman he had once adored had shed her mask, revealing a stranger he no longer recognized. Jeremy played along, letting her believe he was a struggling man with nowhere to turn. And just as he suspected, as soon as she saw him as a burden rather than a benefit, all respect vanished. She grew resentful, treating him like dead weight, acting as if his mere existence inconvenienced her. Then, one evening, she dropped a bombshell. "I'm pregnant," she said, avoiding his eyes. "But it's not yours." Jeremy let the words settle between them, absorbing the weight of her betrayal. But he didn't flinch. Instead, he reached into his pocket and pulled out an envelope. "I already know," he said coolly. "I had a paternity test done on our 3-year-old. Turns out he's not mine either." Victoria's face drained of color. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. The confidence, the defiance, gone in an instant. For the first time in months, she looked afraid. Jeremy leaned back in his chair, studying her, watching as the reality of her deception came crashing down around her. But he wasn't done. "I've already made arrangements," he continued. "A new construction job overseas. My flight leaves tonight." Panic flickered across her face. "Jeremy, wait, we can talk about this. I made mistakes, but we have history. We have a family." He almost laughed at the irony, now that she saw him slipping away. Suddenly, she wanted to fight for their marriage, but he knew better. She didn't want him. She wanted what he provided. "You had a family," he corrected, standing up, "and you threw it away." Victoria reached for him, her eyes pleading, but Jeremy was already walking away. There was nothing left to say. He had spent too long believing love meant sacrifice, that being a good husband meant enduring disrespect. But now he understood love that only exists when you're useful isn't love. It's a transaction. As the plane took off, Jeremy felt a weight lift from his shoulders. He wasn't running away. He was reclaiming his life. He had given Victoria the best in him, and she had gambled it away. Now, she could live with the consequences. And for the first time in a long time, Jeremy felt truly free.